to get an approval of the minutes. So if you'll take a minute or to look over, and I need to get a motion.
I move we approve the June minutes.
I have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Wait. Who seconded?
Fran did,
Yeah.
and then I heard another voice.
Yeah, Fran can't. ADHE, you want a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So we'll move to the business. Now, Fran, you get a chance.
Okay, now, see, and now I get. Told you, I was that student. So really, we have a lot to get to today, and I just want to take a few minutes to update you all on kind of two marketing directions that we're going right now. One is what we're calling an incentive campaign, and the incentive being to encourage people to enroll in 529 plans. And the campaign is being driven primarily through Facebook and Instagram, and it launched on August 1st and will run through September 1st. And the incentive being for every new account that is opened, funded with at least $25, we, Arkansas 529, will match that contribution by $25. So as a result of this campaign, and we do have a cap, we have it capped at 120, so the promotion's been, for the first 120 people. And as of this morning, we found out we have, as a result of this, 102 new accounts, and that has generated over $145,000 in funding. So again, this is what, the 25th, so we do still have a few more days to go, but I think if we keep going on this path, like Laura, perhaps we'll reach that 120 by September 1. And another thing we're doing with this is we're testing two different ideas from a creative standpoint. One features a grandfather, and then another one features a mom with a young toddler. So we're also tracking which one has perhaps led to more enrollments, so we can get some marketing understanding there for future. So if any of you have seen this post on your particular feeds, please forward, share, do whatever, and then it should be gone by September 1. So we'll be sure and get back to you guys with at the next meeting. The other campaign or focus that we're doing is on newborns, where we're trying to reach people who've either just had or about to have babies, whether they're COVID babies or not. And the ways that we're doing this are a couple of things. One, we're doing TV spots that feature our treasurer, and those will start airing in September, and will run September, October, and November in Central and Northwest Arkansas. And the tone or the subject matter, he talks about how you've got all these things picked out, the names, the nursery colors, yada, yada. But, have you focused on how you're going to fund your child's education? So that will be the TV spot. And then similar in message will be a print ad that we're doing in Arkansas Business in September. And then finally, more of a social media driven campaign. We're going to identify some influencers or bloggers who could go on their social media networks and appeal to their folks and talk about, especially now in the time of COVID, how people are adjusting, and that maybe baby showers are being done virtually, and have you considered maybe a 529 contribution, as a gift. So we're still working to identify who those influencers will be, because we've got kind of a mindset of the person that we want to have promote this message. So we're hoping to do that later this fall, and then perhaps come back in the spring with another one. Are there any questions? Okay. Thank you all.
That it. Thanks, Fran. So we will move on now to, we need approval for checks and invoices.
Yes,
So
yes.
give you an opportunity to, she needs to present that. Go ahead and present that, Fran.
Yeah, you should, those of you, it should be an attachment. There should be before you a invoice or a summary that shows of checks needing to be paid. And then we just need approval and a motion to approve the payment of those.
Okay. So hearing that, do I have a motion to approve?
I motion we approve the payment of these checks.
I have a
A second.
motion to approve. I have a second. Any further discussion? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we're going to move on to John Peace. John, are you there?
I'm here, Treasurer. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
well, welcome. Yes, we can. So with that, we'll turn that over to Mr. Peace.
All right, this is the year-end, the fiscal year-end report that ended June 30th. For the 12 months ended June 30th, our total income from admin expenses, admin fees, was about $496,000. We had budgeted $470,000, so we were about $26,000 over budgeted income. The expenses were pretty much in line. The total expenses were $50,000 less than we budgeted, but I'd point out that the large part of that was the audit fees and expenses of $44,500 were paid after the June 30th date. So we were about $5,000 in the good on expenses overall. So overall, we were ahead of what we had budgeted in terms of expenses over income. And at the end of July, the bank accounts at Southern Bank Corp and First Security totaled $111,500. So I'll include the July, August, and September expenses when we have our next meeting.
Okay, are there any questions of John? Thank you very much, John. Moving forward, Dave?
Yes, Mr. Treasurer. Chris, are you sharing the screen? Are you sharing the presentation?
Yeah, give me just one.
Oh, Vanguard.
That's Vanguard. There you are.
Thank you so much. All right, why don't we go over to the first page? So I don't know if folks are aware, I will start off with the, I guess, the biggest news, and that is that the trust hit $1 billion in assets over the last few weeks. So congratulations to everyone on that. That was huge news.
Dave, stop for a second. Can I say the word boom? Okay,
Yes.
there you go. I had to get that out.
That's huge. But $1 billion is that's serious serious assets, to say the least. So of course it's made up of the gift plan. The gift plan assets at the end of July totaled over $483 million. And if you notice, that's a serious V recovery right there. If you look at 2020, that's pretty amazing recovery in plan assets. Wait, Chris, to the next. So we saw contributions so far in 2020 as of the end of July of over 29 million. That's 2.4 million over the same time 2019. So congratulations on that. You see a number of months that exceeded. 2020 withdrawals were just under 21 million. That compares to 20.46 million in last year. So just a little bit above. Go ahead. So your net inflows, when you do the math, was 8.6 million. That's almost $2 million in increase over last year this time. So congratulations on that. Funded accounts. We ended July with over 30,600 accounts. That's plus 879 year to date. You can see that the growth is fairly steady on funded accounts year to year. Average funded account size ended the month at almost 15,800. Again, a bounce back from the COVID experience. Go ahead, Chris. But just to kind of break out the average account balance, you can see when you look at it by age, of course, those with the newest accounts for the youngest beneficiary is going to have the least. And as you get ready to go off to college, you certainly have more assets in your account. So I just wanted to kind of show that average is obviously weighted down by new accounts. So quickly on the iShares, we ended the month of July with over 524 million in assets. Over 14,000 funded accounts with an average account balance of over 37,000. And then UGIFT and UPromise Rewards as the end of July, we had UGIFT contributions for gift of over 6.6 million. And iShares were 1.6 million. Number of UGIFT contributions into the gift plan was almost 11,000. And for iShares, over 1,800. The average gift amount for the gift plan was over 600, and the average gift for the iShares 529 plan was over 900. And then UPromise Rewards, we now stand over 1.8 million in total sweeps through the UPromise program, with over almost 3,600 UPromise members who are linked to the gift plan. Any questions?
Hey, Dave, this is Grant. Just
Yes, sir.
real quick, in looking at kind of the recovery and contributions, can you speak to where our plan is versus kind of other plans across the country that you all look at? It has everything kind of rebounded nicely for 529s, or is it varied state to state?
So what we're seeing, and I can only speak to the 6 plans that I manage, is that it looked like it was across the board. I think the one thing to really note here is that if you had AIP set up in your account, most people didn't touch it. It just kept going, right? You know, we saw some slowdown, I think, in checks across some of the plans, but very few AIPs from what I'm seeing were discontinued. So this really was, seemed to be across the board. You know, of course, the market is what's really driving that V. I mean, we reached new highs yesterday on the S&P, and so much of these assets are in the S&P. So the COVID experience for those using AIP to fund their 529 accounts seem to have little impact.
Good deal. Any other questions of Dave? Hearing that, then we're going to move on to Julia, Vanguard.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Julia Ward with Vanguard. I've assumed the role of relationship manager for Mary Ryan. So nice to meet you, treasurer, committee members, Fran and Grant virtually. And thanks for including me in the meeting today. I'm just going to review very quickly the overall global economies, and then focus on the US markets in particular, and then just touch briefly on your portfolios and the underlying Vanguard funds. So first of all, this is definitely the year of COVID. The story is COVID. As of 2Q, the US GDP was down 32.5%, which actually was at the low end of our forecast. So we expect GDP to end the year in 2020 closer to down 7 to 9%. In contrast, the Euro sector was down 12.2% at the end of second quarter. We expect them to end around down 10%. And finally, China, who encountered COVID first, their GDP is up 11.5%. We expect that to moderate as we approach year end, and we expect Chinese GDP to end up around up 1 to 3%. So you can see that those economies, as they encountered COVID, have rebounded. China rebounded first, then the Euro sector, and the United States is lagging, given that we encountered COVID after them. With respect to the interest rate environment, very benign environment. We had massive fiscal and monetary intervention in the first quarter. So the Fed is taking a step back in second quarter, leaving Fed funds unchanged between 0 and 0.25%. And I think Vanguard's perspective on inflation is that it may increase moderately towards the end of 2020, but we do not expect inflation to reach the 2% target that the Fed has in mind. So it'll be somewhere in the mid 1% range. Moving on to the markets specifically, especially here in the United States, I just want to read some figures for you because this will paint the picture for you. The first quarter and the second quarter are truly two very strikingly different chapters in this COVID story. Just for your information, the Dow Jones Industrials, they were down 23.2%, the largest decline in history of the Dow. Second quarter, it was up 17.5%. S&P similarly down 20% in the first quarter, up 19.9% in the second quarter. NASDAQ down 14.2%, and it was up an astounding 30.6% in the second quarter. So you can see that not only was the volatility extreme, but the rapidity of these moves was extreme as well. If you look at slide 5, just to see what sectors outperformed in the U.S. economy over the 12-year period, let's say 12-month period, excuse me, large cap and growth stocks outperformed. Investors were looking for alpha that they could grab in the growth area, and they were looking for the stability of the multinationals, especially the big techs, the FANGs, Facebook, Amazon, Google, Netflix. If you move to slide 21, I just want to give you a picture of how divergent the performance was in the U.S. economy sectors. It really depended on who benefited exponentially from COVID and who suffered exponentially from COVID. And this is also an advocacy for a broadly diversified portfolio because it was very difficult to perceive who was going to benefit as we move through this COVID crisis. It's not surprising that transportation, entertainment have suffered, and that financial services, information technology have benefited. Healthcare is somewhere in the middle, depending on whether you're a big pharma or you're a growth biotech firm that has access in development of a vaccine or a therapeutic. So huge divergence in the winners and losers in this market. We expect volatility to decrease somewhat as we move to the end of 2020. If we move to slide 7, just to talk about the interest rate environment, again, with a massive fiscal and monetary intervention in the first quarter, the Treasury bond market outperformed. It had an extremely strong performance, historically low yields, and we expect this benign interest rate environment to persist. As we moved into second quarter, not only the Treasury bond market, but agencies, investment grades, pretty much across the credit spectrum, all those sectors performed well, with the exclusion of high yield, which I think everyone will understand. Then finally, just to conclude on the markets, if you take a look at the last slide, slide 29, again, to confirm, this is a COVID story, and the biggest risks hanging over these global economies, global markets, and the U.S. Domestic market is COVID. We've just outlined 3 potential scenarios, and we're monitoring how this virus is progressing and our ability to manage it very, very closely. Best case scenario would obviously be a vaccine available in the beginning of 2021, complete re-engagement by consumers and businesses, and hopefully achieving herd immunity. Middle case, base case would be staggered return of the consumers and businesses to complete engagement, vaccine available sometime in mid to end of 21, and just sporadic, very localized resurgences of the virus. Worst case would be more pervasive, widespread resurgence of the virus, reimposition of restrictions on business and consumer engagement, and then delays in bringing an effective vaccine to the marketplace. So again, it just continues to tell us that COVID is the story. We're monitoring the risks, and we do expect that there will continue to be some volatility. With respect to your portfolios, I think if you take a look at pages 43 and 45, if you look at the returns on your portfolios and our underlying Vanguard funds, they really mirror the market activity in 2Q. So if you look at 3-month returns, perhaps on your aggressive growth portfolio, robust returns in the 3-month period, more muted but still positive returns in the 1 month. So I think it's just a mirror of what happened in the overall US marketplace. Any questions from anyone?
Okay, Julia, thank you very much for that report. Moving on, and by the way, this COVID, this too shall pass. So I think there's better days to come. John Park.
Hello, Treasurer. All right, if you can skip ahead to slide 4. As has been covered before this, the market's obviously bounced back pretty well, and some might say surprisingly. So through the end of July, our assets are actually up higher than they were at the end of 2019. Not by a lot, 2%, but the fact that we're up at all this year speaks to the strength of the market rebound. BlackRock's positions, more or less are similar to the ones that you just heard from Vanguard. Obviously, a lot of uncertainty. Everything is linked to the state of the virus and what happens going forward there. Obviously, some uncertainty around the election as well. So, 2020 is a year of a lot of question marks and volatility. But as far as like 529 savings are concerned, to also add to the question that Grant posed earlier, what we've been seeing among our 529 plan partners is that the 529 industry and 529 saving rates have been pretty strong overall. In fact, there's some question marks as to the disbursement side of the equation, because as colleges and universities go back into their fall sessions, I'm sure everybody's heard there's been kind of a dispersion of opening experiences. Some are all virtual, some are trying to go all live and then be forced to go all virtual, and the lucky few, they've been able to contain it pretty well. And as a result, I think that's reflected in the redemption rates within 529 plans. Also, there are students that are taking gap years, maybe not as much or as many as people were originally afraid of, but there have been some refunds for college tuition. There have been some parents holding their kids back. And so on the redemption side, I don't think you see as strong redemption flow as you would have seen in prior years. And that helps the net equation. And obviously the markets have, been really, really strong lately. So, people have money to invest, and college savings assets just in general have been really sticky. So as we've seen a lot of volatility in other asset classes and other investment products, you haven't seen as much of that in 529 flows in general. Overall, surprisingly, it's been a pretty good year for the 529 industry in terms of sales and asset growth. And I think part of that is that, people who are saving for 529 accounts in general maybe tend to be slightly wealthier, have disposable income for savings, obviously. And as a result, things have been pretty good in the 529 industry just in general. So knock on wood for that. Chris, if you can forward through to the Arkansas slide, which, yep, that's it right there. So through the end of July, total assets in Arkansas specifically are up even more. So for the plan overall, assets were up 2% from the year before. They're up 8% in terms of Arkansas assets only. Also 8% growth in the number of financial advisors that are distributing the plan, and 7% growth in terms of total accounts within the state of Arkansas. So long story short, as far as Arkansas is concerned, sales have been pretty robust, and the plan continues to gain traction as we continue to add firms. So the overall story for the advisor sold plan is pretty good so far, considering all things in 2020. And that is about it.
Any questions for John? Okay, Grant, I think we have some new business, correct?
Yes, just real quickly, one item of new business. We, the staff, have been approached by two different companies, and they are investment companies that operate via a mobile app. Similar to, I guess, like a Charles Schwab, that you would work via your app. One of them is called College Backer, and the other is Sootchy, SOOTCHY, and they're looking to get into the 529 space. And due to the work and technology that we've put into the Arkansas plan, They were curious to see if we wanted to partner with them and kind of explore working with them to provide our plans via their services. This really falls more on the advisor end than the direct sold end. But I just wanted to bring that to the board. We can dive into specific questions that you might have, but really would like to get permission from the board to explore this more and to be able to bring their proposals before you all at our next meeting.
Do we need permission for that?
Yes, I would like that if that's possible.
Okay, through the form of a motion?
Yes.
Okay, board, so do I have a motion to follow up on what Grant's request is? Again, we're not committing to anything, we're just getting information for you.
I can make that motion.
Okay, so I have a motion, I have a second. Hearing no further discussion, motion passes. So Grant, get that prepped and then we'll present that accordingly.
Thank you.
Correct?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so now, Grant, we're talking about proposed dates. You have that before you.
Yes, this is what we would like to throw out. Obviously, if something develops, we can adjust a day or so here or there, but at least wanted to get something on your calendars penciled in so that you would have that as we move forward. This would complete our entire fiscal year. So I know you kind of have the calendar year dates are the quarters that are represented, but those would be our fiscal year date through the end of the fiscal year. So with that, we'll move forward with that. If you have any objections, just kind of let us know and we'll adjust accordingly. But that's all on that.
We're hearing that. Again, I appreciate. Clint, do you have a question?
No, that
Okay.
all sounds
Hearing
good.
that, again, let me say thanks to all of you professionals. It's been it just makes me smile knowing what we, John Park, Dave Ponder, when we came into this thing, and then kind of where we're sitting now, and I look for bigger and better things to come. So those that know me again know this is one of my absolute joys is watching this plan grow and making things better for Arkansas. Be mindful, we want to continue to say thank God for Mississippi. And so maybe I shouldn't have said that. But hearing that, again, I hope everybody has a great day and stay safe. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And